and it's showtime from downtown Winnipeg. Nice pass, a shot, they score! Shankly Connor scores! What a stop by Hellebuck! Nikolai Ehlers off the faceoff!
Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, hosted by Jets TV.
Well, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets. And may I say, things have changed for the better for the Winnipeg Jets. They pick up 5 of a possible 6 points in the last week. And I will tell you, the mood on the podcast was not as cheery as it is this weekend, which is shocking because it's Monday morning at 9:14 a.m. And, you know, nobody likes Mondays. So we're trying to make your Monday better. The Winnipeg Jets pick up a win against the Nashville Predators on Saturday night. By the way, Mitchell Clinton of Jets TV joining me on the podcast, along with 680 CGOB's Paul Edmonds. Gentlemen, a great week for the Winnipeg Jets, I'd say, all in all. On the ice, off the ice, some interesting stuff's going on. We'll go over that in a little bit. But, Mitch, I'll flip things over to you. Just what did you see from the Jets this week that allowed them to have the success that they did?
Yeah, it was quite a week. As painful as it was to only get 1 point out of Minnesota, actually, before I keep going, I should say, that's a really good preamble. That's hard to do right off the top.
Yeah,
you said,
you could probably tell I didn't plan it at all.
Bright and early on a Monday. As painful as it was to only get 1 point out of Minnesota because you did so many good things in that hockey game, that was what it was. You kind of move on from that and take what you can. That was kind of the message afterwards. And then you come in, home opener. Jets had won, I believe it was 3 consecutive home openers coming into that one. And then really, they give up the game's first goal, but then fire on all cylinders on the way to a 5-1 win over the Anaheim Ducks. They continue some of the good things that they did against Minnesota earlier in the week. All of a sudden, you got some momentum. You got points in consecutive games. And then you have the Nashville Predators coming in for your second divisional tilt of the season. And anytime Nashville's in Winnipeg, I don't care if the rosters are different. There's always a little bit of some intensity there. And, I mean, that intensity was obvious. Nathan Beaulieu drops the gloves in that game. The Winnipeg Jets go back and forth with the Nashville Predators and end up with a big win on Saturday as well. So, like you said, all of a sudden, you come into this week with a couple of losses to start a road trip, and then all of a sudden you go 2-0-1, and you're 2-2-1 on the season, heading out on the road again this week. But you have this real good feeling, I think, in your dressing room as you get ready for that road trip.
The good thing about this week that I find is just it started off on such a tough note, like you kind of mentioned with that overtime loss against the Wild. Paul, everybody's favorite topic, obviously, COVID-19. Who's not talking about it? Clearly, we are, the Winnipeg Jets, running into a bit of COVID-19 issues. Blake Wheeler did test positive and was a symptomatic positive. So he is currently still quarantining as we record this in Minneapolis. And then Mark Scheifele, also an asymptomatic positive. So he was unavailable to the Winnipeg Jets. And his situation is a little bit different than Blake's in terms of when he possibly could return. Paul, just turn things over to you. How have the Winnipeg Jets dealt with the adversity of losing, arguably their 2 top players?
Quite well, in fact. I think when you look at the results, it's 2 straight wins. And, of course, you didn't have Blake play in Minnesota as well. So from that standpoint, I think the Jets had a test of their resiliency and also of their depth. And they've come out of this quite fine. Now, there will be a further test. You're going back on the road, and it's 3 games in California. And Anaheim will be looking to avenge the loss here, and Winnipeg will be looking to avenge the loss there, and same with San Jose. And then you're going to see Los Angeles for the first time as well. So, while the California teams struggled last year, I think they are improved this year. So there will be a test that way for the next 3 games. But, boy, you take Kyle Connor and what he's done with these 6 goals already in 5 games and where they're coming from and how good he has been defensively on puck battles to get the puck and then what he's doing with the puck. Pierre-Luc Dubois vaulted into that top line center role and now 4 goals for him. And just you can see the way he's moving on the ice. It's just so much more fluid and quick and fast. So also, Connor Hellebuck, I didn't think had his best game until perhaps the game against the Ducks on the home opener. So that was his finest hour, and he's found his stride in the crease for Winnipeg. So in the face of adversity, you've had a number of guys that have stepped up. They've been forced to, but I also think that it's allowed them to move into more prominent roles that maybe they were setting themselves up for, which is always a good thing because that tells you that your depth within your organization is trying to push upward as opposed to downward. That's not a bad thing. And Winnipeg, I think, has had their depth and their organizational depth on full display for the last couple of games for sure. And I think right now they're surviving and thriving quite well with it.
Mitchell, the Winnipeg Jets power play obviously was something that was talked about quite a bit at the beginning of the regular season. They seem to have found their stride a little bit here, going 2 for 3 against the Nashville Predators on the power play. And also just adding on to that, Josh Morrissey, I believe he's got 2 power play goals on the year already, both from the exact same spot. So he seems to be a sharpshooter there.
Yeah.
Just what have you seen from the power play so far?
Just really good puck movement. As Paul kind of mentioned, when you take guys like Blake Wheeler and Mark Scheifele out of the lineup, not only does it impact 5-on-5, but it also impacts the power play. More often than not, those two are on the same unit, so you're going to have some changeover in your power play units. But the Winnipeg Jets have just found a way to make it work. I remember asking in Minnesota because Paul Maurice had kind of shifted where the defenseman unit. On the particular power play units, he had kind of shifted that around, moved Morrissey and Schmidt to a different unit. And so I was wondering, does that mean that, things have to run through you? I was asking this to Mark Scheifele, and he said, well, you'll just have to wait and see. But then, they pick up a couple power play goals against the Minnesota Wild. That was one of the positives from that game. And then they've just kind of rolled from there, even as Mark Scheifele, as we've mentioned, hasn't been able to play the last couple of games. They've still found a way to make it work. A big part of that is Josh Morrissey, like you said, who just, I don't know, it looks like he's been in that right circle his entire career, the way he's been teeing one-timers from there. And then Kyle Connor on another unit is just absolutely lethal from that spot, as we saw against the Nashville Predators. And really throughout last season, whenever he would get into that circle and get that one-timer off, it is difficult for any goaltender to make a stop because he seems to be so incredibly accurate and he gets it off incredibly quick. So for the Winnipeg Jets, the power play has always been move it quickly, be confident in the way you're doing it, and then when you're able to get the puck up ice and into the zone, get your positioning established, good things can happen, and they've been able to do that the last few games here.
Paul, you touched on this gentleman in your first answer, Pierre-Luc Dubois. He's got 4 goals and 4 straight at this point. Just what have you seen from the big forward that is creating the opportunities for himself in the offensive and defensive zone?
Aside from the number change, Tyler?
Yes, that too.
Yeah.
No. Listen, let's just back up and kind of talk about some of the things that we already knew about what happened to him. And then that really, I think, will lead you to the path that he got on in the offseason and where he is now. So things aren't going very well leading up to training camp last year in Columbus. He already knows that he's probably going to have a bit of an issue, and he ends up having an issue with then coach at that time, John Tortorella, with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Doesn't really want to play there. The trade is consummated between the Jets and Columbus. Patrick Laine goes down there. Now he has to quarantine for 2 weeks. Gets back into the lineup, and the quarantine thing doesn't allow you to be on the ice or really work out the way you normally would with some supervision. Nobody can really be in the house with you. It's kind of alone time. Then he gets back in the lineup. He gets hurt. So it was stop and start all the way through the 40-plus games that he played last year. And then they put him on a Winnipeg Jets regimen. He followed it this summer, was really in good shape when he showed up. You could see that from day one of training camp. But the other thing that he has done this year is that he has stopped trying to please everybody and just started to play his own game. And that came from Paul Maurice. He was trying to do too much last year to impress people. I just think there's a comfort level for him, Tyler and Mitch, right now that I think you're seeing on the ice. He's just more sure of himself. There's more confidence. Certainly you get that when you're quicker and you're faster and you feel better about your body and what you can do on the ice. And right from the opening shift of the preseason, you could see what he was doing was where the Winnipeg Jets thought he was going to get to. And the belief system in Paul Maurice had in him last year, he was quite bullish about him, talking many times about, I believe in this kid. This kid's going to be a great player for us. And not only that, but it's a contract year form as well. So that helps. But I just think that what he's done here is exactly what we saw in the early couple of years of when he was a 20-plus goal scorer with the Columbus Blue Jackets. And that's carried over into the Winnipeg Jets in a time of need when Mark Scheifele's out. We don't know exactly how long, but probably sooner than later he'll be back in the lineup. But I think right now you're seeing Pierre-Luc Dubois assert himself as a possible number one center at some point on this team. And that's in the goal department, but just the way he's playing with the puck and the way he's been hard on the puck using that big body. But it comes down to how he's been in shape, and he's just faster and quicker overall this year.
Pierre-Luc's junior teammate and now current teammate, Evgeny Svechnikov, joins Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets. Enjoy this interview.
Winnipeg Jets fans, did you know that online 50-50 tickets presented by PlayNow.com are available for all Winnipeg Jets games? That's right. Whether the Jets play on the road or at home, you can participate in the game day 50-50 draw. The winner will take home half of the jackpot, with all proceeds in support of the True North Youth Foundation. Remember to buy your tickets on all Jets game days at winnipegjets.com/50-50.
Hi, this is Pierre-Luc Dubois, and you're listening to Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets.
Joined here on the Ground Control podcast by Evgeny Svechnikov. Just, I guess, first, a little bit about yourself. Just how's your time been in Winnipeg so far?
It's been a good time. I'm very enjoying. I think it's very amazing people. It reminds me home a little bit of Siberia, where I grew up, and I think it's just amazing people, amazing environment, and obviously organization. And treat everybody's amazing, and I feel like very welcome and by the people and the staff and everybody else. So I'm very, very, very happy to be here and excited and hope to continue.
You mentioned your hometown. Which is your hometown? Like on the website, it says, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce this. Yuzhno?
Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk.
And is that when you say your hometown, is that your hometown? No.
My life kind of threw me all over the map. I was born in Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk, and I moved to Siberia when I was 1 year old.
Okay.
So I lived there for 12 years. And I was raised there with my brother. My brother was born there in Siberia. I grew up there playing hockey, started playing hockey, and then I moved to Moscow, live in Moscow because of hockey. And then after that, after 1 year, we moved to Kazan. So that's where my hometown, Kazan, is now.
Okay.
For the last 12 years, so.
Your parents just moved you guys around a lot?
Exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Just moved us around for hockey, did everything for us, sacrificed, switched jobs. Cities, so yeah.
Well, that's a great story. I guess back to the hockey side of things, Winnipeg was obviously interested in your services. You signed with the Moose, but then you signed the PTO with the Jets. Just how excited were you to get here and just sort of prove that you still had game?
Yeah, I mean, I think most people think I signed PTO because I wasn't good enough. That wasn't the deal.
Yeah.
The deal was because it was my shoulder and I wasn't clear, so... but I don't really matter to me how people think or what not. So I just came in. I was very excited to show up in preseason and show what I'm able to do, and I know what capable of doing. And I just wanted to have opportunity, and that's what popped out on my hands, and I was very happy to do that. That's why I chose Winnipeg organization. I was very excited to come in, and so I just want to continue doing that.
How do you think you've played so far? I mean, you've got points in 2 straight up to this point. Just how you feeling?
I think I'm not focused on that too much. It's a long season. I feel good. I think it's good step, good step forward. But there's a lot of steps forward to take more. It's only start. It's going to be a long season, bruising bumps and ups and downs. So I just gotta focus on myself, what I can control, what I can do every day, show up and work. And there's going to be, like I said, ups and downs. So. I'm just trying to control what I can, work hard every day, show up at the game, and do everything I can at the game. So, but I think it's a good start. I think I have got some going chemistry with Duby and Casey a little bit. So, but yeah, we'll see. I'm just going to continue working and practicing at it.
You talk about Pierre-Luc Dubois. What's it been like to reunite with him? You guys were teammates in Cape Breton. Just, he had 99 points in 15-16. You had 79, but you only played, I think, 12 games less. So has there been any chat about just that period of time and how you might have actually tied him in points?
Yeah. it was good. It was always good competing, but it was fun hockey. It was the best time of our lives, juniors, and everything it's not as hard comes to you, and it was fun. We just built our chemistry so much with my Russian buddy, Max Lazarev. We had a lot going, in every place of the ice. So in no zone, the zone, neutral zone. So we were all over. We know how to play. We knew how to play, where to be, and make plays in the right spots. But yeah, it's been fun to reunite it with Duby. He's a great guy. He's a driver. He's a big body, and it's fun to play with him so far. And obviously I haven't played in a while, but it's been back. We've been a little bit different players now, and it's been more fun. So I just would like to score more goals together. It'll be more fun.
My last question for you, because we're in a bit of a rush to get to the airplane. You've had a little bit of celebrity here in Winnipeg with this velvet jacket you've been wearing. Tell me about the velvet jacket, your fashion style.
Really?
Just where does that come from?
I don't know. I just like the style. I like to, look good. It makes me feel good. I don't know what they say, play good. But, one of my friends gave me this jacket as a gift, and I kept it, and I started getting more. So, I love it. I like to look good, and suits, it's one of my fashion. Like I said, it makes me feel good. So,
Yep.
But yeah, that's cool that people think that, and we'll see. Maybe there's some other options.
All right, Evgeny, thanks so much for the time, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Shop where the players shop. Jets Gear and TrueNorthShop.com are your authentic team stores. Make sure to stock up on all your favorite Winnipeg Jets and Manitoba Moose merchandise today. Visit one of the 5 Jets Gear locations or shop online at TrueNorthShop.com.
Thanks so much to Evgeny for joining us here on Ground Control. This week, Mitchell, the Jets are off to California again. Life's tough. The Anaheim Ducks are first on tap against the Winnipeg Jets. That goes Tuesday night in Anaheim, 9 p.m. Central start. Then on Thursday, they take on the Los Angeles Kings. That's a 9:30 p.m. Central start. Apologies to our producer for the post-game shows on that one, Evan Midford, for that night. He'll be here a little late. And they round things out with a 6 p.m. Central start in San Jose. So that one's a bit more palatable for Jets fans. Mitch, just what are you expecting from the Jets this week as they try and avenge and exercise some sins out in California?
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I really need to see the Anaheim Ducks about another 13 or 14 more times this month to really get a good idea. No, I mean, it's just every year you get these weird schedule quirks, and this is it, I think, for the Winnipeg Jets this year. You see the Anaheim Ducks 3 times in 2 weeks, and then you never see them again for the rest of the regular season. So I think it's going to be interesting from a coaching perspective. Now you've got 2 games worth of video on the Anaheim Ducks, and as much as it's John Gibson is probably the first bullet point on any scouting report for the Anaheim Ducks. You've got a better idea of some of these young guys that they've brought in over the last year and a bit. So that includes Trevor Zegras, who's a guy that I think a lot of people have enjoyed watching. There's just so much skill there. And the Ducks have a number of young guys as well. So I think that's probably been extremely helpful for the Winnipeg Jets this month, now that they actually feel like they have a book, quote unquote, on a team. The San Jose Sharks, obviously a team that the Winnipeg Jets have seen. They also want to, they had a 2-0 lead at SAP Center and, felt like a win kind of slipped away. The Sharks have been a lot to deal with for teams in the National Hockey League so far this season. So that'll be a real good rematch, a real good way to close out the road trip. That building is tough to win in. I remember Paul Maurice, the first time we were there, saying, in his career in the National Hockey League, the first 10 minutes at SAP Center is always, if you can get out of that 0-0, you're usually in a real good spot. So the Winnipeg Jets will no doubt be trying to handle that as well. And then the Los Angeles Kings are a team that we haven't obviously seen yet. A little bit more of a focus on some speed, but they've brought in some veterans. We talked about Nashville a little bit earlier on. Victor Arvidsson is now a member of the Los Angeles Kings. Be curious to see how he's been able to fit in there. He's already made his return to Nashville this year. So I'll be curious to see that. And of course, it'll be Drew Doughty was on the receiving end of a tough play. It, looked like a knee. Was it? Who knows? It's one of those situations where player goes to hit him and the knees kind of collide. So tough situation for Drew Doughty. So hoping the best for him. But the Los Angeles Kings, I think, are going to be a really intriguing hockey team this year. So I'm looking forward to seeing them on Thursday.
Before we shift into our final topic, a big announcement last week, the Ducky Pond Hockey Classic, a really neat event taking place in January, the 13th to the 16th. You can enter your own little pond hockey team, and the winner of the Open Division, I believe, gets a spot in the World Pond Hockey Championships, which I think is a really cool added little bonus to that. If that's something that piques your interest, you can start registering a team on Wednesday, October 27th. That's at duckypondclassic.ca/registration. So if you have a couple of friends that want to get together and enter a team, make sure you get on that website and do so. So I'm sure we'll bring Anders Strome, the what do you call him, the director of the event?
Yes. I don't know if that's going to be his exact title, but he works in alumni relations and whatnot with True North Sports and Entertainment. He was on the Jets TV Live pregame show presented by Budweiser talking about this very thing. It's going to be so cool. Like, it's going to be out at Camp Manitou, rinks, food trucks, various beverage areas.
Yes.
I mean,
beverages.
I love a good beverage area.
Yes.
What kind of beverages?
All kinds of beverages. So
smoothies, warm milk.
It's going to be
cold chocolate.
It's going to be peak Manitoba, and really a lot of the funds and everything go to a number of different charities, one of them being Howard Chuck Strong, the Youth Foundation here. Real good cause. Like you said, registration October 27th.
Like, are you talking carbonated beverages?
Oh, perhaps. I love a good carbonated beverage.
I love a carbonated beverage.
All right, our last topic. Nate Schmidt. He sits third on the team in points. He had 3 assists against the Nashville Predators. He's got 6 points in total, all assists. What has allowed him to have a bit of offensive success here? And I don't want to steal your analysis, but I did notice something that was really interesting. He talked about, I believe it was after the game against Nashville, when asked about his no-look passes on the power play, like where did that come from, or how did you hone that skill? Instantly, he referred to Mike Green, which I thought was a really good little nugget. Just goes to show you how, a veteran like Mike at the time really impacted on this type of player. And now you're seeing those dividends being paid off all these years later. So just what have you seen from the defenseman that has allowed him to mesh so well with this group?
Well, number one, his personality. I mean, is just there's a layer of his personality that the Jets didn't have in their room probably since Buff left. And there's no comparing Buff to Nate Schmidt. But in terms of the levity that he brings in the room, Buff had that, and that's been a void since Dustin Byfuglien left. So you bring in that sort of everybody comes together. Everybody likes him, right? Everybody can gravitate to him. So he's a glue guy that way, because there might be groups of players in the room, but all the groups like Nate Schmidt because of his personality. He also can be serious when he has to be, and he can play the game. I think he's alleviated some of the pressure off of Josh Morrissey, and as a result, Josh Morrissey is playing more fluidly, more confidently. He's playing really well and enjoying, as you mentioned, the power play opportunity in that one-time spot and getting some more points. The other thing that Nate does is he has a really innate ability to skate. Nate has an innate ability to skate.
I was going to comment on that, but I didn't want to
I knew you were going to jump on that, so I jumped on it myself. When you can skate and you can move the puck, that's what today's game is built around. And the Jets have had some of those guys, but they just haven't had enough of them. Plus, there's a guy that's been around for a while. So as you talk about, he's 30 years old. There's now sort of that veteran savviness that's to him and part of his game. And then the power play, he just understands what needs to happen. He quarterbacks it up top. He thinks quickly. He distributes the puck. He's a good passer. He's got a good shot. And he can escape trouble if he has to because of that skating ability. But one of the things that I thought was great, he was asked a question about what needs to happen when you quarterback the power play. He said, we need to shoot more because then you get the defenders turning their skates back toward the net. I thought it was ingenious. I'd never heard that before, but it allows you to dictate where the puck's going to go, and it doesn't allow the opposition on the penalty kill to get set up in their positions. So he's maybe a shoot-first guy, distribute later, whatever comes first, he'll make that read. But there's all kinds of things about his game. He was good in Washington. He was great in Vegas. Had a bit of a tough year last year in Vancouver. That's kind of the outlier for all of this. He had COVID twice last year on a team that was decimated by COVID. And then he's come here with a brand new fresh start with a great attitude. He's close to home, St. Cloud, Minnesota. There's all kinds of things that are working in favor of Nate here in Winnipeg, and he has responded in kind by providing favors to the Winnipeg Jets. He's been very, very good at the start of this season.
Speaking of things that have been very, very good at the start of the season, us. All right,
Yes.
so I'm just going to wrap it up there. So humble, as always. On behalf of myself, Tyler Esquivel, Jets TV's Mitchell Clinton, and 680 CJOB's Paul Edmonds, have a great week, everybody. We hope you enjoyed the podcast. Thanks for downloading, and go Jets go.
This has been Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, hosted by Jets TV. For Jets news, videos, and more, head to winnipegjets.com.
Proceed with Able.